the PDQ Live team with Jordan, Tara, JJ, Jake, Chase, me, with special guest Conor McGregor. It's PDQ Live.
Hey everybody, welcome to PDQ Live. How often have we used Austin as the final prop?
What are you talking about? We've never used Austin.
Yep.
Austin's never been there yet.
Oh yeah.
Conor McGregor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yes.
No,
he hasn't.
that's not.
There was a
Austin.
weird guy in the closet, and then there was Conor McGregor. There's been never been Austin.
Never.
Oh,
He is not.
One
been
of these
Austin.
days, eventually, we'll use Austin, but
Not.
it might be
not
a while.
soon.
I need a heads up when you guys are going to do that because I couldn't hold that in.
So we're celebrating Halloween. We have between us a lot of very good years of IT experience and some mediocre ones. So we have some stories, some horror stories. We also went to the internets, and they gave us some horror stories. We're just going to sit here and talk about where did we screw up as sysadmins. Apparently, I mean that's not how they phrased it, but that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really what it is.
Very well. Welcome, Tara. You're back.
I'm back.
Hello, Tara.
Hi.
I mean, Joyce.
That's just right. I'll be Joyce.
Is that the face?
My son's in the
she
void.
constantly looks like that.
All right, so who's going to dive into the first horror story? Not me.
Dun, dun,
'Cause I don't have any. I was pristine mostly because I didn't actually do my
if
job.
that's all it takes, then not me.
Well, no, you have to say your first one so that you can then tell people what I did to you in the second one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Should I do the
So it has a sequel?
the sewage one?
Yeah, the sewage
Okay.
one's the good one.
All right. So it sounds sewage. You immediately think, oh, there's sewage involved, and really only as a kind of a supporting character. It was at a sewage treatment plant, and it's not
There's so
that
many
funny.
puns. There's so many
laughing.
I know,
puns.
there's so many puns. So, what had actually happened is there was a problem with one of the drives. It was an Intel IMS system, which is Intel's Blade server. They no longer are manufactured for a variety of reasons. They are reliable, extremely heavy, but also very fickle and hard to manage. What?
I had the model number burned in my head.
Yeah.
MF-SYS 35.
Well, those
I
ones,
didn't
I know all about them.
know that.
No, if you ever had to encounter one in your career, you
Yeah.
would know.
So the bad part about this was it had originally been set up with a RAID 5 array, and I knew this. I was aware of RAID 5, and I was aware of that you don't pull more than one drive out of a RAID 5 array, unlike like a RAID 10 or something like that. So went down there. One of the hard drives was bad, and so we replaced that drive. And IMS's management system is not the best at sort of like telling you why it's doing something or what it's doing really, other than like red exclamation points, yellow bangs, and green check marks, and then cryptic like
that's all
Intel
you
words.
That's all you
What?
That's all you need.
Yeah, that's it.
Logs are pointless.
So
communicated in emoji in like early 2000s emoji.
yeah. So replacing the drive, put in the new drive, and it starts to rebuild, and everything seems fine. Green check marks across the board.
oh,
And except
congratulations
for-
on your successful swap.
Yes, except for a yellow bang on one hard drive that says like, hey, smart indicates that this drive might be going bad soon. Please replace. So following the instructions, I pull that drive out, thinking that I'm going to replace it. I put in a new drive. It takes about 5-6 minutes, and the phone calls start coming in. Now, it's actually about this time, which is budget time for them. So they had been working on budget stuff for probably about a month. And because they are a treatment plant, they are governed by the state of Utah and a variety of different things. Anyway, so they've been hot and heavy into all of this and saving it onto the IMS system in a variety of different VMs that are now disappearing. We lose our ability to log in about 5 minutes after that. And all of the VMs are suddenly gone. The last backup and restore that we had was 30 days prior to that. So spent the weekend working on that. I had to leave town, so did as much as I possibly could because we had another client. And then we had another person that will be part of another horror story here kind of take over that. And so eventually we did replace that. But I do remember that approximately about 30 minutes after this occurred and realized what had happened, that I was in the bathroom and I'm looking in the mirror, washing my hands, and I just realized that like this was probably the end of my career and like a massive shift, and had decided that I could probably go and do construction. I work in a convenience store, which I did enjoy when I was younger. That there were a variety of different non-IT related jobs that I would be perfectly suitable at. It was horrible. It was like I've never felt that feeling of dread ever in my life. So yeah, that's my horror story. But end result was like it wasn't a huge loss. We were able to restore stuff. A lot of people had backups on their local drive, so but it was just a lot of extra work.
You forgot to mention the backup solution at play too, because that's a horror story in and of itself.
Yeah. I don't even remember. Was that we were using Symantec at that time?
It was Symantec Backup Exec.
Backup Exec.
I got good news for you. Next week, we're going to talk about doing backups. So you can tune in and you can see
Well,
how
you
it
need to
could have
learn.
been.
Yeah.
What could have been.
What could have been?
Well, all right, do you remember Veritas?
No.
You don't.
The name is familiar.
Well, so that's what Backup Exec was
is it
Veritas.
before
yeah.
they got bought?
Yeah, so Symantec bought Veritas and then created that. Now, Veritas was a great product back in the early 2000s, before the end of the 20th century. Anyway, or after the end of the 20th century. And it was great. And then Symantec took it over, and it wasn't so great after that.
Yeah.
So that's my first
right.
horror story.
Yeah. That's not the first time that RAID has bit you, though.
Nope.
No, yeah.
That's why I just don't use it. Just single hard drive. Boom. Done.
Yeah.
You know, effectively,
When it fails, and you know why.
effectively, that was the next story with Brig and RAID.
Yeah. Well, it was us.
Us, yeah. So Brig and I worked together at a previous job before we worked at PDQ. And it was a small MSP, and one of our clients that we had recently just onboarded, we were in the process of moving them off of some really old server hardware.
I mean, old.
Old. They were HP Tower servers.
They were that yellow beige color. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. And inside of those things were 10K SAS drives. And one of the first things we noticed was that there's 8 of them. I think, was it 8 or 10? I don't remember.
I don't remember
It was a
either.
large amount.
Yeah.
And they were configured in a RAID 0 on 10K SAS.
Mm-hmm.
And they were the old beige boxes. And I remember we ordered them new server hardware. They were running on VMware. So we get the new server hardware. We pretty much rack these things. By rack, I mean set them next to each other, because there was no rack involved.
No.
We set them next to each other.
It was an office space. Yeah.
Yeah. And we start migrating VMs from one to the other. And it was going well for, I don't know what, an hour, maybe
Yeah.
2.
Yep. Everything was fine.
And then all of a sudden, there was just a little red light on one of the drives.
That's right. I remember that. I didn't remember the red light.
Yep. There's just this little red light on one of those 10K SAS drives.
So did alerting just not become relevant to you guys until recently?
No. So it failed in the migration process. We knew that they were RAID 0.
Yeah.
And we were trying
aware.
to get them off of it because we knew like impending
Yeah.
doom. But it was the added load of like taking all of this data and getting it off that caused that drive to fail.
So is this the IT equivalent of trying to bail out your sinking lifeboat?
Yes,
Yeah.
with a thimble.
Yeah.
So the worst part about this, and I still kind of feel bad, but I chuckle. It's a mixed bag. That was my last day at the MSP. I had taken a job somewhere else. So it was my last day. It was 6:30, 7 o'clock at night.
Yep. I have to call the director and be like, your Exchange server and your health organization with PHI is no longer existent.
It's
And-
just gone.
Yeah, it's just gone. So luckily they had done a database replication across another Exchange server at about what I would say maybe 75% like configured properly. So there were some emails that existed, but yeah. Yep.
Yeah, this was our attempt, because we had just onboarded them. This was our attempt to modernize the mess that they were coming out
Yeah.
of, and caused a catastrophic fire. And then I left Brig to clean it up, and I went
Yeah.
and I was
Just was like, see ya, bye, I'm out. Have fun, good luck.
And yet they're sitting together today.
Yep.
To be fair,
That's the best part of the story.
to be fair, I did go to my new job. I started the next day,
Yeah.
and I worked until 5. And then at 5, I immediately drove back to where we were working before.
Yep.
And it was like, I would stay till 8 and then rinse and repeat over and over until,
Till it was done.
yeah.
Oh, that took a long time. There was a lot of manual movement on that one. But
Oh, yeah. Which was, I mean, they were using Exchange, right? So everybody had a PST locally,
yeah.
but then the server itself had died. So everyone had all of their mail and all of the stuff. But it was like this manual. It was like, I guess we're moving to Office 365 right now.
Yep.
And that's what we did.
And then we would take those PSTs okay. Oh, I'm fine.
PTSD. PTSD.
PTSD.
Okay, I have
OSD.
a raid story as well.
Ooh, I like it.
It's previous company, but this RAID array, same scenario, but it was our on-air system. So television on air. And the manufacturer was monitoring the RAID array, and 2 of the drives were in predictive hardware failure. And so they contacted the TV engineer and said, we need you to go pull these 2 drives. So the manufacturer actually called them and said, go pull these 2 drives out. But they didn't call IT and say anything. They just went downstairs to the server room and pulled out 2 drives at once,
Tara,
which of course, yeah,
what RAID is this?
it was a RAID array, it was a 5 array. I can't tell you the system.
I thought you said 3 at the start.
Oh, okay. Was it RAID 3?
No, 5.
RAID 5? Oh, okay.
RAID 5 is the worst. I'm just
So-
going to interject here. RAID 5 is the worst.
Why? If you, it is.
So we're talking terabytes of data. So he pulls the 2 drives out and it immediately destroys all the other drives. Right. So we're in the middle of the day and newscasts need to go on, but it's completely dead. So then they call IT. And I remember the IT director, my boss at the time, he's like, you did what? And of course the engineers are like, well, they told us to. And he's like, why? Why did you do it? So we actually had to send all the drives out to get recovered $17,000.
Were they able to recover it?
Some of it, we only paid to get the historical information because we had backups for the stuff we needed right then. But I mean, it was terabytes of data. And the worst part was the manufacturer told him to do it.
Nice.
So it seems to
Boy,
me
was my boss pissed.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
this was just a successful social engineering attack. Someone called and said, unplug these drives, and someone listened. They should have been watching their Arctic Wolf videos.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, well, you can pull 1 drive, right? You can pull 1 drive and you're fine, right? But 2, toast. So the irony was that they said pull 2.
I like the comment from Chris, who doesn't have a RAID story.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, unfortunately, I've had a pristine, spotless career. I've obviously never made a mistake.
Do you remember last week, right?
Obviously.
And then there was 6 weeks ago. And then, oh, yeah, I've seen your performance review.
Can we go get Jordan's personnel file?
Sarah!
My secret to not making a mistake
We'll need
is I
one of
don't
those
actually
dollies.
work. I pretend to work, but don't actually work. So no mistakes happen because I haven't done anything.
Fair.
Okay.
Ever.
We're buying
I
that.
have a lot of horror
No,
stories.
I'm not buying it. I want to hear what you've done.
What do you got, Jordan? What do
All
you
right,
got?
so I was in charge of putting in new load balancers, F5 load balancers. I love those, by the way. Those are top notch.
I've never used them.
So I was doing all the setup, the initial configuration, and one of them was I need to put a service count to be able to log in as a service. So I went and manually entered that into the main controller, which overwrote login as a service for every single account except for the one that I pushed in.
Dude.
Yeah, impressive, right? Yeah. But because it was domain controller and group policy was pushing out the main bit anyway, it didn't fail instantly. There was some weird issues that started about an hour later, and over the next 6 or so hours, everything, it was just cascading failure.
Isn't that the best about Active Directory is you can totally break it and you won't know.
For hours.
For hours.
Yeah, so it's one of those, like, instant response, like, oh, this was clearly me.
Yeah.
But the minute everything was working great, the load balancers, by the way, mwah, so good. Data was going left and right. It was awesome.
Into DIS delete.
So
Let's go home.
my commitment to the job was, time to go home. It's like, well, I'm out. And I went home. And then I woke up in the morning and I figured out that I was the cause while pooping. And came into the office and fixed it.
That's a necessary detail.
Yes, it is. That's where all of the great ideas come from.
I did this.
Yeah, it's where revelations happen.
Yeah, so
Never
as
seen
I sit in
Breaking
the
Bad.
morning, it's like, oh crap, I broke everything.
I see what you did there.
Nice.
And then I fixed it. And I feel like I could have just not said anything, just showed up and fixed it, and then just like, I don't know what happened. I didn't, though. I admitted it.
It's called ownership.
Good
Yeah.
for you.
That's a hokey.
They didn't treat me better for it.
Oh.
We
Did
have
they treat
one.
anyone? No, never mind.
We can't go into that.
Nope.
I'm going to drink more.
We've got one from Rob in the chat. It's kind of funny. He says, you know how a CPU can only be seated in one way? Well, I was able to find a way not to do that early in my career and hose a VP's personal computer. Included a pop and smoke.
Wow.
So well done.
Nice.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it is nice.
You know, I've come close on a laptop CPU. Don't recommend working on laptop hardware.
Yeah.
Let the OEMs do that.
Brig had one yesterday that I'd like you to share again about the disgusting stuff you found inside a computer. Could you?
Okay.
Because this one really is horror.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
it's-
this one also involves Josh, but only as a supporting actor, much like the sewage in the last one. I'm still
Thank you. Thanks for the comparison.
Yep, not bitter at all. So, so we had an employee that worked at the same MSP where Josh and I worked, and to say that he had some hygiene issues doesn't quite cover the subject. In fact, one might say that doesn't cover the subject even to begin with. So, and it wasn't just hygiene issues, but it was just general lack of anything. So no one really went into his office because there was always a slight odor that was emanating from it. And this particular, how much can I tell without giving away? Okay, I'm just going to go. So anyway, this person left.
Yeah.
And Josh was coming back after his stint, after leaving.
Yeah.
And
So
coming
yeah,
back.
timeline. It's after I left,
Yep.
and then you realized, oh, I've made a terrible mistake. I
Yeah.
missed this.
I'm
I want to
bored.
come back.
Yeah.
I'm bored.
Yep.
Yeah.
So comes back, and this other person had quit or had left, and then so we decided that we were going to give Josh this office and this desk, and it's a really nice desk. It was a desk similar to this, very nice. And in retrospect, we should have just burned it, taken it out back and burned it.
Just
and bought new stuff.
drywalled over the door and pretended it didn't exist.
Yeah. So I go in there, and there are bags of food existing for I don't know how many years. We could probably do a timeline based on the strata of the food left along the wall. The carpet was. It really wasn't carpet anymore, and the desk itself was covered in a sheen and a film of things, and there were things that were living on and in the desk that shouldn't exist in an office ever. So I spent probably
office
the
hoarders
majority of 2
edition.
days cleaning this up. I probably used, I think I bought one of the Costco like Clorox wipes, disinfecting wipes.
Oh, the 3-pack?
Yeah, the 3-pack, the big giant kind, the canister that requires like a dolly to take to your car. And I used all of those in addition to a variety of different disinfectants and steam clean devices in order to get this just to a habitable level so that when Josh came in on a Monday morning that he wasn't confronted by a Petri dish of a variety of diseases and bacterial infections that could potentially cause harm to him and all of society.
So this
So
office
this
was a
is
one-off in the
pretty
rest
much-
of the whole building?
Oh, yeah.
The what? Yeah.
It was a nice building.
And
Yeah, it was
ever-
really nice
it
building.
just happened to be neglected for that long?
Well, it was the thing. No one really got into anyone else's space. Like IT people don't generally like go into other IT people's space and do things. So it was one of those. We knew that he was a filthy person. We just had
Yeah.
no idea how
Because
bad
the
it was.
layout of these offices, like
Yeah.
you faced the door. They were small. They're small offices, and you would face the door. So everybody's screens, the back of the screen is the only thing you see. And so when you wanted to go talk to somebody, you'd stand at the doorway and you'd look over their screens and talk to them, and they come out. They're small. There was not room for sitting. It was basically the desk, and that was it. And so the terror and horror that was happening behind those monitors.
Yeah.
We just weren't aware.
Yeah, you had no idea until you actually walked back there, and no one would do that. You just didn't go into another person's space. So
And Aaron
Yikes.
said, and that's how Josh became patient zero.
So you reused the furniture after that? Like you didn't?
It was a small MSP. All right, margins were thin.
yeah, margins were real thin. We did not have the money for that.
Burn it for heat. Come
Yeah.
on.
I mean, the keyboard didn't have keys anymore. I mean, it had keys, but they were like, it was like, they were more like mounds than they were keys. And you couldn't see a lot of the letters anymore because of the film. I'll just call it that, film.
You had to use a putty knife.
Yeah. So it was,
this is
it was awful. And the mouse, like, okay, IT people were aware of like filthy mice, right? Oh, no. It was like, anyway, it was horrifying. It was truly a horrifying thing. Anyway, they went in the garbage. There's no salvaging.
They should have been in a biohazard bag.
They should have, yeah.
You said there were things living in the desk. Like you talking like
in the
Like little grubs and stuff.
cockroaches?
in the computer, wasn't there?
No, there were silverfish, no cockroaches, and there were things that were alive. I mean, I'm sure, I don't know if they were maggots because we didn't have a lot of flies inside, but there were things that were definitely alive in the food.
I do remember,
Ew.
and I remember
Yeah,
the layout
it's
of the
horrible.
office, and I remember where this person sat, and I remember coming back to my first day at this job, and being like, "You want me to sit there?" But then I walked in the door, and it just smelled like almost like a swimming pool.
Yeah.
Like there was so much chlorine. I was like, this is
Enormous
safe.
amount of- yeah.
This is now safe. Because
Oh yeah.
So there's no concern that Josh's departure and comeback was bookended by disaster?
Right?
No, not really. No, that wasn't really a disaster. That was we traded up.
Yeah.
Sure.
That one was definitely like
Okay,
a
so-
legit horror story.
Yeah, and it's
Greg,
just
I've actually been known to clean other people's spaces. I would, in fact, go back there and clean that up.
Yeah.
Yes, I would.
well,
That's
and
disgusting.
I have so I'm a relatively clean person. In fact, I am a germaphobe a little bit. So yeah, it was there was
Yikes.
much
I am
Clorox
as well.
used.
So I want to tell my one of my worst horror stories quickly. Well, probably not quickly, but and first thing, I read through the blog, and it's a good blog. You guys should read it. But there's one in there about horror stories about heaters, and I think every IT person hates space heaters because they're awful. They're terrible. They cause all kinds of problems. But there's one in there about that, and that made me think about it as you're talking about that space. But okay, so one of my worst ones, back in the server room again. One of the sysadmin administrators had plugged in a piece of equipment, I think it was a server, into a rack without checking the power requirements for this piece of equipment and overloaded the rack,
Oh, I
the
wish
power
Lex was
requirements
here.
for the rack. And on that rack was the core switch and the vCenter server that housed over 100 servers.
I know where this is going.
So he calls me and said, Tara, oh my God, I don't know what I did, but everything just went out. And so the whole building lost internet. And the mail server was a virtual, this was pre 365. So the Exchange server was a virtual. So mail was down, internet was down, and my boss was in Bear Lake and with no connection. So this guy was in shock. He could not even speak to me. He was like on the floor just crying in a ball. And I was like, okay, first of all, unplug it. We got to start somewhere. So we unplugged it. We got the power back on in the rack. But even when the vCenter server came back on, the host couldn't find their storage. They didn't know where to go back. So it was piecing it all back together, like one by one by one. And it was just laborious. And at first we thought, oh my God, did we lose everything? But no, we just had to like start one by one and okay, host, yep, you go here, you go here. And when we finally rebooted it, they knew where to go. But even then, he couldn't figure out how to get Exchange back online. So mail was down for 6 hours. Oof. So internet came back pretty quickly. That one was pretty easy because the core switch could figure itself out pretty fast. But mail, it was a disaster. That one was terrible.
Jeez.
That was a whole 2-day massive disaster. So power, I'm very paranoid about power to this day.
Yeah, I have a similar one, and also similar to Chad, who's talking about a UPS and plugging things in. Very early in my
Yes.
career, I was very interested about monitoring all of the things. I was like, I want to get all of the data. I want to monitor all the things. I'm going to set up this really awesome Nagios map, instance everything.
I remember that.
And
Well, I remember Nagas.
yeah, and one of them was I wanted to monitor this UPS, but it didn't have the smart card. It was serial connected. Right? So it's like, okay, well, I got a serial card. I already got a little box in there. I'll plug the serial into the little desktop box in there, and I'll pull data that way. For those of you that don't know, the serial cable on the back of an old UPS is not actually serial. It's APC proprietary. And it looks like a Cisco rollover cable that's like to RJ45. And I was like, I've got those everywhere. You know, the blue cables, they're ubiquitous. And I went and I plugged it in, and I plugged it in the other side, and then everything got very quiet very quickly. And that is probably one of the most terrifying noises in a rack full of equipment is it's very loud, and all of a sudden it's silent. And that was definitely one of the worst, because we were still running like Dell Equalogics for storage. And those things probably took 35, 40 minutes just to even think about rebooting. So all I did is I sat in there, I got it to come back on, and then I just sat and listened to everything start up. And there was nothing I could do as people just kept coming by the IT room. And I'm just standing there like, yep, it's dead. Just wait.
Yeah. Do you find that you listen to sounds? Because I do. In fact, Josh, on my level, there's a UPS that's beeping. Okay, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. That's the old Symmetra. It's on its way out. There's a new one ordered. The batteries are super expensive. It's a dead battery. It's got 14 of them in there. It's fine.
Whenever I walk by, I'm having PTSD, and I'm like, I should tell Josh, but I always forget to tell you.
No. Yeah, I know that guy's there. He's on his way out.
You know, I
Lasted a
think
long
you
time.
have things in your career that happen that like scar you for life. I had an experience with a battery forever ago, like I want to say 2008, maybe. It's back when the MacBooks were white and the battery you could get to without taking the lid off. You could just use a penny and take the battery out.
Okay.
Well, those are lithium ion, so the battery had swelled up, and one of my technicians was trying to get it out. And is when I worked in a school, it was Mac only, and he used a screwdriver to try to get it out, and he perforated the casing. Oh, well, it
Time to
caught
run.
on fire.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
for those of you
I-
that don't know, lithium and
Yeah.
oxygen are not friends.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Neat.
They're not friends. So I look over, and this man is brilliant. He went on to, he's an amazing person, amazing IT career, but at the time he was like 20 years old in college. But I look over, and here's this fire and smoke, and it is the worst smell you've ever smelled in your life. And he and I are just staring at each other like, oh, what's happening? And the assistant director of IT comes in the room, and he's like, hey, ding dongs, what are you doing? And he picks up the laptop and he throws it out in the snow through the window. We had to evacuate the whole school. Huge school filled with smoke. It is the worst thing you have ever smelled in your life. So to this
Hey,
day,
ding dongs.
I always put batteries in Ziploc bags every time I see them, and I'm really careful. I'm like, don't disturb it. Scarred me.
Jeez.
We want to make
know.
that smell into an IT candle,
Yes.
the magic smoke candle.
No, it's awful.
We've been
I know it's awful.
we-
We've done it before. It's not a great smell.
We've been
but
talking
is-
about it for years. We're like, we got to do this
yeah,
candle.
like what are the perfect like IT smells? Like the guy next door's body odor, the magic smoke.
The sweat or the smell of sweat when you're trying to do a non-authoritative restore of Active Directory.
Yeah.
Keyboard film.
Can I say, and I'm not joking this time, as an Exchange admin for 5 years, and I don't have a single Exchange horror story.
You know what? We should bring Exchange on-prem just for you.
Just for me. I don't think I have it anymore. I don't have no skills.
Lovely.
I don't know if it. Yeah, is it because you're just so good at your job that you have no horror stories, Jordan?
A lot of it was dumb luck. I know I made mistakes and crap just recovered. Like I was not a flawless exchange administrator. It just all the mistakes I made just seems to not cause a serious issue. I'm a statistical anomaly. That's why I'll never win Powerball. It was all exchange related.
You used all your luck.
I love these ideas in the chat, though, of smells that we could incorporate into candles. We'll sell PDQ candles with some of these. That's cigarettes and coffee.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and Mountain Dew. Don't forget Mountain Dew.
It's terrible. And when Kelly first talked to me about this idea, and he said, we don't get a lot of response about IT horror stories. My what I said to him is, that's because every day is an IT horror story.
It's true.
Every day something stupid happens, or users do something stupid, or users lie to you, or users say, I didn't spill anything on my laptop, and you take the case off and it smells like coffee, and you can see the coffee on the motherboard. I mean, every day is an IT horror story.
So
I rebooted yesterday. Uptime
defending myself
367
from
days.
Ed, who said just recovered me, someone fixed it for me. No, what I had was my DAGs were on point. So when something went wrong, there was always a safe failover.
Yeah, just brag. That's fine. That's fine.
I crushed it with the database availability groups, and everything else was just all gravy.
I mean, though, I like to show the users what corrosion looks like on the motherboard, and also, so you didn't spill anything on this? I do. I'll point it right out to them. Nice. I mean like that.
That's the mean Tara coming out that...
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen it.
Oh, yeah. I know you say that, but that's because you guys are so nice at PDQ.
I'm not trying hard enough then.
Yeah.
Well, are there any other stories that you'd like to share before we call it a day here?
Yeah, I graduated college in 2008. Try starting your career then.
Oh, yeah.
Brig,
Yeah, that
I
was
forgot.
Brig did the math real quick. He's like,
I got a gift card for closing the most tickets and then walked off the premises. That was my first IT job.
Wow. Yikes.
Well, Alexander,
Yep.
welcome to the
they
group.
pay you in
I
gift cards.
was like, I was told there'd be jobs in IT when I got this degree.
Well, it could have been worse. It could have been in 2001, 2002 when the .com crashed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
thanks, DeVry.
I was in California.
I was there.
I was in San Francisco. It was.
Yeah. It's fine.
That was in 5th grade. That's all right.
All right.
Well, is that it for today, guys?
All right.
Thanks for sharing, everybody. Some of these stories in the chat are just awesome.
Yeah. Happy Halloween, everyone.
Yeah.
And to you.
Why do we do this?
Do what?
Money. IT. That's what.
All right. We'll take her away. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, everybody.
Guys.
Thanks for joining our webcast, everyone. If we didn't answer your questions, it's because there were no questions. But we'll see you back here next week. We'll be talking backups. Have a great week. Bye-bye.